Good morning. Today is a very special day as we're going to see the modern day version of an old Highland tradition unfold. And I'll get a chance to photograph it.
200 years ago and before that, cattle was the main produce of Applecross. In 1792, according to the local minister, around 3,000 cattle were traded out of Applecross every year across the Bealach na Ba. They were the main currency really of the people who lived here if they wanted to exchange cattle for grain, salt, things that they couldn't necessarily grow here in great quantities.
The Applecross fold of Highland cattle. We believe it's the oldest fold known. It goes back to the late 1600s, if not before that. We have written anecdotal evidence that that was the case in the old leather-bound herd books in the estate office.
It was in 1980 we took on the cattle, as at that time there was very little interest in Highland cattle. The herd had been there a long time, even going back to the 17th century in the old herd book.
Applecross, January the 8th, 1884, from Duncan McNair, herd, 69 years of age. My proud grandfather Duncan McNair came to be herd on the Highland cows to old Thomas Mackenzie of Applecross in or about the year 1776. The fold of black cows was kept at Applecross 70 years before my grandfather's time. An old man from Kishon retired from being a herd before my grandfather's time. It is evident the fold of black cattle was kept at Applecross since the year 1700, however long before then. M. Today we're going to take the herd from the fields in front of the big house known as the Fairland and give them insecticidal treatment against tick, of which there's a lot rising this time of year, and then put them to the glen for the summer. And they like the glen, and they know how to get here. It's almost like running on rails really. They just come out of the gate and then turn right across the bridge and then straight out into the glen.
Remember fondly having to chase these Highland cattle constantly. You know, they would be breaking away, you'd be trying to move them from one field to another, maybe using the roadside, and of course cows being cows, they would never do as they were told.
I suppose it's similar to the cattle moving to different pasture land in the summertime, which would have happened when the crofters had access to sheelings in the past, which they don't have now and haven't done for quite a long time.
I don't know a lot about sheelings in Applecross because there are no records, as far as I can tell, of the use of sheelings in Applecross. So like most people, I know about sheelings through coming across them on the hills when hill walking. You come across these ruins, often in sort of quite green grassy areas near rivers or lochs, and they're little circular or semicircular piles of stones really, which are all that's left of the sheelings.
People would leave the arable ground behind and they would take the animals to sheelings so they wouldn't be trying to get back to the pasture land, which would need for hay and potatoes and so forth.
In those days there were no fences, dikes were very difficult to build, no enclosures, so they needed to get the cattle away from the houses.
The Gaelic for sheeling is Ari, and we know of a few Aris around the place. I'm sure you do. Ari na Grianach, which is Arena, which is quite a township on the north coast.
And Ari Drishach.
Ari Drishach is, Ari, which means the thorny shieling. That's on the south coast. There's a house there, and there was actually a village, but it was cleared, and the people from Ari Drishach went to Gillies.
It was obviously a big event. It was planned for and looked forward to. There was a bit more freedom because the Highlands were quite religious in the old days. It got them away from the village elders, and from the stories you hear, things were a bit less strict up there at that time, and some romances did go on.
Do you want to introduce us to any members of the fold?
This is Momo, who's a wee pet. She didn't really grow very well. She was lucky to be alive, really, because when she was born, she just fell on the ground and then didn't get up for several hours. We brought her up in the bottle. So she's very, very friendly. That's Johan of Applecross, and that's Angela.
Are you ever nervous around such big animals with big horns?
Well, you've got to treat them with respect, and you can't really work with cattle except with their cooperation, really.
Where's the best place to be scratched, Angie?
I think she likes it down here, but you're doing quite good.
Oh, that's the spot.
That's the spot.
Just like Toivo. You're a bit bigger than Toivo. Not many yet.
No, we're better behaved as well.
Cut that out.
This is a cow that was here in my time, and it's known as Johan, Johan of Torridon, and it's a name we have in the fold today. It's an old name, and she was born in Torridon, but from a cow that was from Applecross that was linked to the Torridon fold, which Mrs. Edwards and her husband were looking after.
Oh yes, we used to bring in the Torridon herd for summer, and then wintering as well. We kept the whole up there.
Her mother was Jenny of Applecross, and she was the daughter of Black Prince of Common Craig, which was a bull that was in Applecross for quite a while before my time.
He was a devil, and we had some cross cows on the lower fields, and he was determined he was going to break out and be down there. My late husband used to have to go and chase him back up the glen, and he would be grumbling, and the Black Prince of Common Craig.
The information in these herd books fades out around about 2003. We have a different way of recording information, and a lot of it's online these days, and it can be accessed through the government website as well.
This is Dancer, and he's our friendly bull calf. He needed a little bit of help with drinking, and now he's like this really nice, gentle boy. And he's nice and calm-natured, so that should help.
Is that always in the back of your mind when you're around the cattle?
Well, yes, they're quite big and have horns and strong legs. I don't want them to be upset and so, you know. And he likes to eat things.
It's so good to get on the long camera.
What are you saying? You get it? That's his mother, the white cow.